Hello fellow R users, it's about time you learned how to interrogate data frames, that is, how to extract useful information for your analysis. Data frames can be inspected with similar subsetting mechanisms to those used for vectors and factors. So, you can search and extract information on a data frame by index, by column name, and using relational operators. For subsetting a data frame, as with vectors, you can use positional indices within square brackets. The major difference between subsetting data frames and subsetting vectors or factors is that since a data frame is a two-dimensional object, you need to specify the position of the cell or cells carrying the desired information in terms of rows and columns. Let's head straight to RStudio and see how this idea pans out. First step is to create a data frame, as I did in the last video, with the data.frame function. Now you can extract, or select if you will, a specific cell of a data frame by writing within the square brackets the number of row that it is in, then a comma, and lastly the number of column it belongs in. In this case, I chose the cell in the second row and first column. The output is 14, as expected. What if you would like to extract, let's say, this cell here? Well, as previously, you need to go to the 9th row and to the 5th column. Try to choose some other cell and specify its position with square brackets to get the corresponding number or string that you want. Now, if you'd like to extract more than a single cell, and those cells are in neighboring position, either in terms of the row or of the column, you can use the range operator, signified by the semicolon. For instance, supposing I would like to take the first two rows of a data frame. In this case, I simply write the range of the rows I would like to extract, whereby the number on the left specifies the from and the number on the right specifies the to. So, from row number 1 through row number 2. The output includes all the cells living in the first two rows. Notice that I intentionally left blank the position after the comma that specifies the column number. The idea underlying this choice is that I would like all columns of the row or rows specified on the left of the comma. Now, what if you would like to extract more than one columns of a data frame? Well, in that case I would do the opposite. Namely, I would specify the range in terms of columns and keep the position before comma blank. The output includes all cells of these two columns. In case you want to extract more than two rows or columns, but these are not neighboring, you can simply use the C operator for creating a vector of positions. Here I simply ask for the second and fourth columns of glc_df. Of course, the same applies to asking for rows of a data frame. Here I choose the 3rd and the 10th row of the data frame. A very common scenario is when you find a single or a few cells of missing values and you wish to exclude them, creating at the same time a new data frame without them. Now, why would you want to do that? A plausible reason is that your analyses are influenced by the presence of missing values. And if the missing values are very few or even one, and your dataset is too big to be affected by the absence of a row that carries a missing value, then it would be a good idea to simply leave it out. For excluding the 3rd row of a data frame, you add the minus sign in front of 3, before the comma, as shown here. And again, if you wish to exclude more than one rows, you simply wrap the numbers of rows you would like to exclude with the combine operator to create a vector of numbers and insert the minus sign before that. Here I excluded the third, the fifth, and the sixth rows. Apart from extracting information out of a data frame, you can also change the values of cells within a data frame. You now need two things. First, to trace the cell whose values you want to change, and second, to assign a new value to that cell. You already know how to do that, as you can see. Here, the value at the first row and the second column is changed to 10. The second way of subsetting a data frame is by using its column names. To achieve that, you would first need to write the name of the data frame followed by the $sign operator. After the $sign operator, you write the name of the column you want to retrieve its content from, as done here with the column glc_L1. By writing this piece of code, you simply choose the vector of strings living in that column. You can do the same with any other column by using its name. At this point, a useful note is in order. When you create a data frame with data.frame, all columns created by character vectors are converted to factors by default. So if I check the type of the fifth column, the gr_communication_skills column, with the class function, I can see that the output is a factor and not a character vector. Although this default behavior is pretty convenient for language data analysis and statistical modeling in general, since most of the times character vectors should be converted to factors for further statistical analysis in R, there are a few times that you would like to keep them as character vectors. For instance, a possible scenario might be when a column consists of cells with the ID numbers of the participants in an experiment, or if there is some other kind of label that is not part of the statistical modeling process. In that case, you simply need to change the default behavior of the data.frame function by changing the value of the stringsAsFactors argument of the function to false. What this means is that by default the function data.frame, as most of the functions that you will be using in R, includes a number of named arguments that take default values. If you do not use these arguments when the function is called, in the background the function will be executed with predefined default values for these arguments. In the case of data.frame, the argument stringsAsFactors is set to true by default. For learning about the default behavior of any function, you can simply ask for documentation help. To do that, you write the question mark in front of the function name and press enter. Then the documentation of the function appears on the side panel. As you can see, data.frame has a number of named arguments apart from stringsAsFactors, such as row.names, check.rows, check.names, fixed.empty.names, with default values that will be used in the background when the function is called. The last and more advanced method of retrieving values based on well-defined criteria is to use relational operators within the square brackets. As with vectors, the relational operators are used to return a logical vector, which is the input to the subsetting mechanisms. Let's take an example. Let's assume that you like to extract those learners that have Russian as their first language. For doing so, you need to extract those rows of the data frame in which the column of glc_L1 has the value Russian. And that is exactly what this line does. Notice that the relational statement is written on the left of the comma to output the whole row in which the statement takes the true value. In general, relational statements are placed on the left of the comma, since most of the times you need the whole row. Of course, as with vectors, you can write as complex a statement on the left of the comma as you want. Here, I ask for the Albanian native speakers that think that their communication skills are very good. The output includes the whole rows in which these relational statements are true. You could also ask for the Albanian native speakers that scored less than 14 in the listening task, or the rows or second language learners, since that is what these rows represent, that scored either less than 12 in listening task or more than 13 in the reading task. Spend some time on familiarizing yourself with the idea of having rows and columns and how to navigate through the information that a data frame carries, and once you get the hang of this, you will fully be able to manipulate your language datasets for quantitative data analysis. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notification when new videos are released.